Man, when somebody does you wrong, isn't the first thing you think about is vengeance? You want them to feel what you're feeling. You want to get them back. But today we're going to talk about the flip side of that. We're going to talk about why it's so important to forgive. So that and more is coming right up. A good friend of mine once told me that hate always destroys the container it's held in. And that's stuck with me for the past probably 20 plus years. And it just resonates with me even more over these past 8 or 9 months with things that I've dealt with in my personal life. And it made me think about, man, how can you forgive someone that blatantly does something to you and have no regard for how it's going to affect you or your family? And that's a hard one to get into. It's hard to really put into your mind of how you should deal with it. But today, that's what we're going to dig into. If this is your first time joining me, my name's Tom Falks, and this is my channel, Moving Forward with Tom. And on this channel, we usually talk about stuff to do with anxiety and depression, but forgiveness and harboring these feelings can really make your depression and anxiety much worse. So that's why I wanted to talk about forgiveness today. And there's actually 4 steps to forgiveness. And I want to go over each 4 of those and kind of break them down. But the first one is unboxing what's happened to you, of just going in your mind and in your heart and almost reliving exactly what you're feeling. Because how can you forgive something if you don't really understand what it is you're mad about and understand what it is or who you're mad at? So you've got to unbox those things, and that way you can kind of move yourself in the direction of healing, but you can't do it unless you know what you're healing from. So you've got to kind of unbox these things. And as you're unboxing them, let yourself feel what you feel. If you feel angry, feel angry. But you've got to unbox it from your mind, because if not, you just go through life being bitter with everyone over everything because you've got all this hate and bitterness and unresolved anger that you're walking around with. And the next step number 2 is basically you've got to decide that you're going to forgive. That's a hard thing to decide. But I think the reason it's so hard is because we've got a misconception of what forgiveness really is. In our minds, forgiveness is letting that person off the hook that did something so terrible to you and made you feel the way that you feel. And you're kind of giving them a pass, like it's okay, I'll let it slide. That's not forgiveness at all. We've been sold a bill of goods that says, well, remember, forgiveness is for you, not the other person. And you know what? That's the truth. It is for you, and it is for me. And the reason it is because we are basically letting go of the hate and the anger that we're carrying around and burdened with, while other people that have been the offenders are going on with their happy little lives and waiting to screw over someone else. And you were just left by the side of the road like someone they just tapped with their car and just keep moving. And guess what? They don't care. And your being angry doesn't change who they are. It doesn't change one thing about them. All you're doing is carrying a heavier load in your life because you're clinging on to all of these things that are weighing you down and won't let you move forward. And I start thinking about like a vehicle with a wheel that's constantly squeaking and it's on your nerves. You've got to grease that wheel that's squeaking. And you've got to make it, because if not, it's hard to move forward with things that are weighing you down and things that are on the back of your mind, because as you're going down the road, all you're concentrating on is that squeaky wheel. You're not thinking about the other 3 wheels that aren't squeaking. Your mind always goes to the squeaky wheel. Get rid of the squeaky wheels by deciding to forgive. So what does this deciding to forgive look like? Number 1 is you've got to start working on that forgiveness in a conscious way. And the way that you're working on it is by simply letting go of the anger and deciding that you're going to take control back. Whether you realize it or not, you've given control to the offender by not forgiving. And like I said, you're not going to reconcile with this person. I mean, you may, but you don't have to. It's not about reconciliation. And that's another flawed misconception that we have about forgiveness. It's not a reconciliation, it's a letting go. It's a freeing ourselves and freeing our mind and freeing our hearts. Because if not, we're going to drag this bitterness and anger and everything else that we're feeling of these negative emotions into every single relationship we have. We're not going to trust anyone else because we come with these preconceived notion that everyone is going to be like this person over here. And that's simply not true. That's your subconscious telling you that because you're constantly looking at that squeaking wheel and you're doing nothing about it. But it's going to take you some time. You've got to work on it daily. But you will find out that once you do get to the point to where you can release it, it's so freeing. It's like the opening of the gates and the doves come flying out, and it's just freeing. You know, it reminds me of the movie when William Wallace, at the end of his life, when he's tortured and put to death, but he finally just releases and screams out, and the mobs just finally understood what it was he was fighting for, and that was freedom. Freedom means more than anything does. And we keep ourselves chained down because we're unwilling to forgive someone that's hurt us. And the only person that's keeping chained down is us. It's not keeping them down. It's just going to make you more depressed, have more anxiety. You've just got to get to where you recognize the benefits are for you and not for them. Because they're not benefiting by the forgiveness you are. You're letting go of all of that anger and hate, and you're not putting it back in a box. You're opening the box and just letting it go like balloons. So just remember next time that you're hurt to be quick to forgive, because the longer you carry that hate with you and resentment, the more it starts chipping away at who you truly are. And you don't need that. I don't need that. So I've let go of a lot of things these past several months and forgiven, but I realized that the forgiveness wasn't for the other person, it was for me, because I wanted me back. So just remember until next time to forgive, love one another, and just keep moving forward. Thanks.